Welcome to this super special episode of the CEO Crowd Show. Today, I am joined by my friend Lolis, and I'm so excited for y'all to meet with her. Lolis is a brand coach and also an ambassador of Jay Shetty and Joe Dispenza over in Spain. So we've been talking all things Spain before we came on today, but now we're going to start to talk all about Lolis's journey to where she was to where she now is and how she became this like incredible brand coach that we're speaking to today. We're going to talk about specifically the type of coaching that Lolis is really interested in delivering and her transition now to focusing really on one thing and growing this Spanish speaking side of her business, which is so beautiful. I'm following along and trying to learn Spanish as quickly as possible, Lolis, because I want to follow you so bad. And then we'll talk a little bit about Lolis's masterclass that's coming up. So that is what you will get in this episode. And without further ado, Lolis, welcome to the CEO Crowd Show.
Oh, thank you very much, Becca. It's really a pleasure to be here with your beautiful community. And yeah, so happy to serve and just have a beautiful chat of whatever may serve your beautiful community.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you're so right. This community is so dope. I love them. They're so great. So thank you all for being here. And let's get into, Lolis, we want to hear more about you. And I'd love to hear about, I know that it seems really cliche to say, what has your journey been? But I know that your journey has been so extensive. So I would love to hear about your entrepreneurship journey to get to where you are today.
Yeah, well, I started my professional journey as a multinational employee, like all these big brands as Heineken, Whirlpool, Home Depot. I used to work for a Ryanair subsidiary back in Mexico. But at some point, there was always like some piece missing. Like I always got the promotion. I got like this big brand name on my personal professional cards. And it was like, I don't know, like I got the promotion and it started to feel great, but at some point it stopped. So I guess that instead of looking for the perfect job, I had to create my own job. So at some point, around 15 years of being on the marketing as an employee, I decided to take a leap and become my own boss. And for me, it has been a no way back, because at first you start with so much fear. Like in my story, I had my mom and my now ex-husband, but at that point it was my husband, that neither of them were supporting my decision. They were like, why do you want to quit? You work for this big company. And I felt like with all these fears, like, am I taking the good decision? I don't know what to do. But something inside me, like this little voice of intuition, just told me like, go ahead, do it, you've got this. And I took that decision, and there's no way back. Like for now, it's been over 8 years from now, and my business is 14x of what I used to win on as an employee on this multinational. So for me, it's all about like, at some point you have to take decisions that even though you are afraid of, on your inner self, you really know they are aligned to who you are and where you want to go. And at that point, you have to trust yourself, because no one knows you better than yourself. So for me, that's how my journey started, from becoming an employee of these big, beautiful brands that I am so thankful for them, because I really learned a lot from them. But at some point, like on those 15 years, I always thought that something was missing, and trusting myself, my inner voice, even though my closest circle was against my decision, and have that bravery inside to really make that choice.
Oh my gosh, that was so eloquently put. First, creating your own job, the whole concept of it against going against fear and listening to that inner knowing, that's so powerful. And 40x your income. Can we just have a minute? Congratulations. Well done. That was good work. And I think that you're right. Like it really does fundamentally come down to trust. And that's what leads me to ask this question is, you don't sound like your typical brand coach in the best ways. I think that this is personal, this is a personal belief, but I think that branding can feel really generic. And I think the way that you come at it is not that way. It seems like it's very person centric. So I'd love to hear more about your style of coaching.
Yeah, sure. So also now, like focusing on my journey on starting as an entrepreneur, it's also been on these 8 years a journey. At first, it was all about helping businesses on their digital part, because I was one of the first on Mexico to really get to know which was the potential of digital, because it was just starting, at least in Mexico. Maybe on other countries of your community it was already like spread out, but in Mexico we were more late adopters. And 8 years ago digital was like only started. So for me it was like a vision that, okay, instead of focusing on all marketing, is to narrow your energy to one thing. And for me, my bet was digital. And I started building all these suites of services for companies in Mexico. And for me, one of the things that really, really worked very well was that I started sensing from the clients that they didn't need, because all the traditional digital marketing agencies back there were offering, like, do you want this Facebook, or do you want a website, or do you want, like, it was more about a service, like, what do you want to buy? Like when you go to a grocery store and you say, okay, I will buy or pineapple, or I will buy lemons, or I will buy mango, whatever. So for me, I started sensing that really the companies weren't looking for a Facebook or a website, or they were looking for someone to really deliver results. So I started like shifting my services to something that I will get your result, whatever it takes. So if it meant for some clients that LinkedIn was their best bet, or for some their Google, or for some SEO, or for some Facebook, or for some, at that point, Instagram wasn't that strong as it is right now. But it was more about like learning, like, what do you want? No, I want followers. I want reach. I want sell. I want to sell more. I want leads. Like whatever they wanted, there was usually one that would be the difference, like the 80-20 rule, like one of the social media platforms or one of the digital efforts that we could do for them that will really make a leap, like 80% of the results. So instead of like they investing in being in 6 different platforms and like scattering all their budget and all their energy and all their efforts, it was more about finding that one and focusing all the energy on that. So clients really started loving that, because it was very different from other digital marketing agencies. Yeah. And as I started evolving, and I don't know, maybe around 4 years ago, because of my personal journey, I moved to Spain. And I started to identify that me as an entrepreneur, I needed to be around more like-minded people, all already growing their businesses, like taking my business to the next level. And in that journey, I started to become very, very fan of the coaching industry. First as an, yeah, like only like a listener to coaching, but a year ago, I started a certification, and I'm already a certified mastermind coach. And it's a method where we cover, it's named Sembu, S for all the part of Sembu. It's all about somatic. I don't know if you're familiar with somatic, like like going into your body and really feeling the sensations. So that's the first one. The E is for emotional, because our emotions really have a lot to do with how we react. M goes for mindset or mental, all the part that we need to clear on the mindset. B on behavioral, and U for unconscious. So it's a method, it's a mastery method focused on those 5 areas to really get to the root of what is stopping you or preventing you to go to the next level. So I started identifying that first with myself and then with my clients, because I could serve them in a much more powerful way, like not only going at their business part, like really understanding what were their fears, what were their doubts, how can I engage them more in what they were going to accomplish, or sometimes even having clarity that what they were aiming for wasn't really what they really needed or would fulfill them. So like I'm working right now with a Mexican client that lives here in Spain, and she actually made a full repurposing of her business because of that, because she gained so much clarity of, okay, now this is so little and I want to expand my reach to much more, a service that's more aligned with who I am right now. So it's more like a blending of going into the inner knowing of your power, and also with your branding or marketing strategy. But usually, ironically, it's also the 80-20 rule again. Like the 80% of the results come from the inner work that we do as a coach, and 20 from the strategy that we actually pick for the marketing.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And I feel like one of your central messages that's coming out is really this finding of the one thing and narrowing energy down to one thing. And I would just really love your hot takes on the idea of being a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I know it's something that I hear a lot in the space now, is everyone is multi-passionate because we're all humans, but a lot of people want to bring that to entrepreneurship and their businesses. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on multi-passionate entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I was also a multi-passionate entrepreneur, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, like it was like you see this shiny new object that passes in front of you, and you say, oh, I want to learn that, and I want to learn that also. Like, for example, I am really into investment. So at first for me, investment was about real estate, because on my family, my grandfather, my mother were about real estate and buying to then gain some passive income about rentals. But then it came to me the part of, yeah, but Warren Buffett is so wealthy and all this thing of action. So I want to have stocks on Apple, and then the crypto, and then you can have like all these fears of how you can become an investor and grow your income. So when you really scatter all your energy on different things, you become like a generalist of all, and you don't know one thing deeply and become the best at it. So when I started the coaching journey, that's one of the things, like the golden nuggets that my coach shared with me. Like, you can go for anything that you dream of, but not all at the same time. Like, for her formula that she taught me is just get 90 days all full into whatever you're going to define as your priority goal. And after those 90 days, then you can pick the next one, just if you already hit the goal that you first defined that you were going to reach in 90 days. Because sometimes as ways you have to like recalculating, and maybe it will take 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and it's okay. And it's just like, okay, this, it's also for something. I believe that our soul really knows what attracts us is for us, but it's just like to put it like in a little, you can have this little notebook where you can put all your dreams, and just when you hit one profoundly, just see how you can go to the next one, but not with all your energy scattered on 3 or 4 things at a time, because ends up happening is that you slower the results that you get on the first one, and you get demotivated. So for me, that formula, like I told you, I really was like very multi-passionate. It was very strong for me to, oh, I only have to focus on one, but I really see the results. And I remember like when I started my business journey also, I had this business partner that he was like a mentor for me. And that key word that he always told me was, Lolis, focus. Lolis, focus. Like, so for all the areas of my life, it usually comes down to focus. So for me, it's an invitation for your beautiful community to try that out and just define priorities and say, this is my priority number one, and I will go, because I will go all in, because it takes way less effort and less energy to go 100% in on something than 99% and 1% to other. So you can totally try that out. But when you are 100% in, it's impossible that you don't get what you want. It might take a little longer, but you will get it when you are 100% in and with 100% with your soul and your heart energy poured into that result that you want to manifest.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that being multi-passionate as a person is wonderful. Being multi-passionate as an entrepreneur at the beginning is just a recipe for disaster. And I think that this really comes into content because we feel like we have to be across all platforms at all times. And yes, I believe that you can repurpose content from, one platform to the other, but then it's like, where are you really growing? Where are you really developing a voice, and who are you really serving if you're kind of everywhere and you're checking all your social media 10 times a day? So I'd love to hear, with this idea of narrowed vision and really focusing in, then I'd love to hear a few of your top tips. I know that we're going to talk in a few weeks in our masterclass, but I'd love to hear a few of your top tips for people who are repurposing their social media content.
Yeah, well, for me, it's for them to really pick the platform that they like the most, that lights them up. That's not like it doesn't has to feel hard. Like it has to make them like enjoy, because in the joy is where the results really show up. So when they pick that platform that really lights them up, it's about going all in on that. Like one of my favorite things, like when I am short on inspiration, I usually pick my 5 top influencers that I follow. For me, it's Instagram, for example, that is my platform. So what I usually do is like I have these 5 top influencers that I really like the most. And one of them is Jay Shetty, that I'm ambassador from him. But I have other 4. And I only entered to Instagram because it's very easy to then get lost and distracted and scatter your energy. Like I only have like these 5 picks that I really like, how they share stories, how they post content, all the material and value they bring. And from there, I get inspiration of what I can do for my own building of content. So it's really a way when you are like, oh, I don't know what to post, I don't know what to put, like picking your platform and then picking like your top 5 influencers. And it doesn't mean that you have to stick for that on stone for all the year. Like if at some point you start seeing that one of them that they don't resonate longer with you, so you can exchange it with someone that resonates more with you. But with 5, it's more than enough so that you can get some inspiration of what content you can build for your own platform.
I think that's so important that we have inspiration. I think that a lot of people feel they have to constantly be creating something new. Whereas we don't really have to do that. We can seek inspiration from sources, just like Taylor Swift would seek inspiration from her very real life to write her songs. We can seek inspiration from people that we follow, and we can do things our own way. So when it comes to that idea of that's repurposing other people's content essentially as something that you could put out yourself, what are your thoughts on repurposing older content that did well? Because I feel like people are on this hamster wheel, Lolis, of I have to keep creating new and new and new. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, about repurposing old content, it's an option. For me, it's more about like what feels true for you that you want to share with your community. I personally don't like to share old content that much. At like just resharing the same content, for me, it feels like I'm not bringing any new value. But what it's valid, maybe it's like maybe I have an old content that really worked very, very well. And what I do is I can bring something new into it. Like maybe if it was a video of a minute, maybe I can make the shorter one version on 30 seconds and put a new copy. Or maybe if it was I don't know, like a carousel of different images that had some point, maybe I can, like from the 10 carousel images, maybe I can pick 5 and then bring out something about AI that's very interesting right now. Like for me personally, I really don't like to only share like exactly what I shared in the past, because for that, what I usually do with what's working very, very well, it's to take it as a learning or inspiration of what type of content is my community really engaging in, so I can bring more content about that. So if I find that there are some pieces of content that really were very engaging, I just see like, what did I talk about there? How long was it? If it was a reel, of how much? In duration, what hook did I use in the beginning of the reel? Like just learning from what content and then bringing more ideas, because that usually works very well. And one thing that also, because I am coming from the digital marketing expertise, that really works for all content, is that when you find these golden, like almost diamond pieces of content that really perform very well, you put like $1 on ad spend, and it really works like magic, because it doesn't matter that's a very, very old piece of content. Like I have, for example, one for myself that I built like more than a year ago, and I literally put on it $1 per day, and it keeps bringing more and more new followers, because that it's a good strategy. Like when you say, okay, this content was really good, I put $1 on it, and it will start, it will keep bringing results to you. At some point you will have to like update it, but there's no need to post so much. When you make some ad spend on your campaigns, you actually don't need, there's this wrong idea that you need to do one piece of content every single day. If not, when you put wisely your budget on very key pieces of content, you really don't need that much content. Like I have, for example, one of my last success stories is a UK client that he's a DJ, and he came to me and he said, Lolis, I want to increase my followers because I want to become more known for my music. I want people to engage with my content, to bring in more followers. And when he started with me like 40 something days ago, he was on 1,600 followers. And right now we are on 40 days and he's already hit 40K followers. We are working with him on TikTok, and it was all about doing 10 key pieces of content on the first month. So you don't really need like, oh, I need to put out 5 pieces of content every single day on TikTok to work, so that makes crazy 50 no, you don't need that. It's more about quality and putting on the pieces that the algorithm shows you that are like I call them like the gold or the diamonds. Then you put a little budget on that, and that's how you grow on a more wiser way.
So, but you said so many things, Lolis. Oh my gosh, I want to get into all of it because I love, first of all, it was this concept of older content. It's not repurposing the content, it's repurposing the idea. And I thought that was so genius. I love that. Yes. And then this understanding and process of analyzation that you go through for your content to learn from it. I think that a lot of people will put out content, they're like, cool, lots of people like that, and then the next piece goes out and they're like, no one liked it, and that means I'm bad. And that's not true, but that's how we kind of take it, I think, especially at the beginning stages of entrepreneurship. And this is something that is so gold. I think that a lot of people are scared of ad spend, and I completely understand why. We've never done ads in our business yet. It's something we're looking into, but it's on the content that works. And I think that people don't know what content works for them because they've not analyzed it. And I think if they knew that, then spending that dollar on ad spend is not so scary. So I think that that's a very different take that I've not necessarily heard in many circles, of really considering your content and saying, is this actually good? Because everything we put out, we think, in our biased opinion, is good. But when there is that external validation of comments and likes, then it does make a difference, and people follow you from your content. That's important to know. So you need to know what content that's coming from. And then essentially it's this process of the 10 key pieces of content, instead of you have to be on social media every single day for the rest of your natural born life, because then you'll learn from it and slowly over time you'll get better because you've done so much of it. And I completely understand that works too. And then we get into a conversation of what's most important. Is it time or money? And I think that's like $1 million question right there, is what is more important to someone. And I think that that is dependent on the person. Is it that you want to dedicate all of your time, when you are saying that you have none of it, to trying to post on social media every single day and burning yourself out for your business when it's not your zone of genius and you don't enjoy it and it just causes you stress? Or is it worth figuring out what really does work, or getting support to figure out what really does work through someone like a brand coach, and then investing small amounts of money? And we're not talking like throw in $1,000. I remember the first company I worked with in coaching, and they were essentially starting to get into ads. They had put an ad out, and the sales company they were working with said, you need to put more money in ads. And we're talking tens of thousands of dollars were going into ads, and we were not seeing the return on the other end for that company for a really long time. It's not always about more money in ads. It's about the right ad at the right time.
Yeah, totally.
That's gold.
It's totally about putting the content that really resonates. You know, there's something, Becca, that I really think that people don't realize. Like, as you know, I am a total ambassador of Jay Shetty and a total fan of Joe Dispenza. And what do you think they have in common? They are both on the energy. So when you make a piece of content, you actually put energy into that piece of content. So you think it doesn't show up, but it shows up. Even though it doesn't have to be your video where you're filming yourself. It can be literally like an image of a quote. And if you that day were on a good vibe, good energy, like my my content that really blew like the one piece of content that I was telling you before that I have built longer than 1 year ago, and it's actually serving a lot of new followers, bringing in still new followers. That was a day that I just got out of a session with my coach, and I was like in this flow inspiration, and I made this reel. So everything is about energy. When you do something from your heart and soul, it will have much more an impact on your community, rather when you just create like, oh, I have to make 30 pieces of content, and I like that shows up. It's all about the energy that you bring.
I love that you said that, because I think one of my best performing pieces of content ever, I was standing in for a networking event for a friend. And I run networking events, as you know. And I was standing in for a friend, and I was so goddamn nervous because I had to not only give my pitch, I had to give her pitch, and I didn't want to let her down. And it was a room of people I didn't know. And it was just me with my unmanicured at the time fingernails, and my hand was just shaking. And it's just my hand shaking because I was scared. And I took this little video of it, and I was like, how many other people feel like this? They're like, I'm scared as all hell, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to show up on this call, and I'm going to deliver, and I'm going to, give it my best shot. And it really resonated with people. And I think that it's because, like you said, it came out of that place of heart and soul where I was like, I'm not sharing this for the good of my health. This for me is very vulnerable and in its own way embarrassing, because if you run networking events and you're nervous about going to them, what the actual F? But I think it came from a place of like, so many other people have to deal with this, and they need to see that people are just doing it anyway. And that's why it performs so well. So I think that's absolutely key. And I think we speak a lot about value. And I think that we also think value has to be an amount of things, whereas value can be a very short, I think that reel is like 6 seconds long with like 3 lines of content and not very much in the caption. And it just hits people because it's real. It doesn't have to be, value does not have to be you on YouTube for 3 hours saying these are all the ways that you should change your life. Like, it literally is just those moments where life happens and you catch it.
Yeah, beautiful. That's it. When you connect with what really you are going through, like you are connecting with your community because you are sharing yourself. You are sharing your stories. You are putting your heart and soul in your content that you want them to know, to learn things, to follow your journey, to like when you come from this true place, it's way more easier that results can show up, because it's all about that. It's value, but always considering the energy when that you're bringing in.
Absolutely. And last question, for people that are just getting started with their content, because we serve a lot of those women too, that maybe they have a business and they've worked through referrals and now they're like, I've got to figure out this online thing. Then I think that we've given such gold already, but I'd love an idea for them where to really get started.
For me, it's more about what I told you prior. Like, I would start with finding out the 5 top influencers that they like. I even think that something that's very useful and creative, it's when they, from these 5, they don't have to be of their exact niche. And that's where magic starts. When you really like, say, let's suppose that's a restaurant. So maybe they really like these 3 restaurants that they really inspired by, and they like how the content is shown, how like the colors, anything of the content that they really like. So they follow these 3 restaurants, but then one of them, maybe he's very fan of all these videos of do it yourself. So one is about that. And then one is about cars, because he's very fan of these flashy new cars, like, and you will say, but it's a restaurant. Yeah, but when you start mixing of things that really light you up, because again, Becca, it's all about sharing yourself, like your own authentic, vulnerable, real you. And when you are open to really sharing who are you in your essence, you are that likes those 3 things. You are not only that restaurant owner, you are also that one that likes that do it yourself things at home, and you totally love flashy cars. So put out that, because that's where people will connect with you. So yeah, for example, right now one of my clients is from Canada, and she started with the idea that I have to build, because she's on the marketing space, where she thought that she had to focus everything on marketing, but she's also a mom, and she wants to share so much about that. And she also loves anime, and so it's all, and she loves nature. So when she really shows all that things that you think like, no, but it has nothing to do with it, well, that's where people connect, because actually that's the people that really engage with her, that follow her, that get her, that, so it's all about that. Like, where would they start? Like, inspiring themselves from those top 5 and being open to mix and match, because that's essentially who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, if you're struggling to find those 5 people, it literally is who stops your scroll when you're scrolling. Like, who do you genuinely stop for? Who do you watch all of their stories, and for what reasons? And I think that comes down to the analysis part that you're talking about earlier, is why do you enjoy these top 5 people? Is it because you love how they talk about their flashy cars? Is it because they're a mom? What is it that you love about them? So, oh my gosh, this has just been absolute gold. Lolis, thank you so much. Do you have any last minute wisdom nuggets, golden nuggets for people? As in, you know, if you had a message for the world, it would be what?
Well, for me, I think it would be like to really, really acknowledge that everything comes from the inside out. Like, usually when they believe they can really get the result they are aiming for, is the beginning of really getting the results. Because when they don't believe it, for me, the step 1 is to make a pause and go in and go within and deep to really find out what is inside. Why am I afraid of taking this step? Like, when they clean that out, oh yeah, the results are coming.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. It is absolutely, I agree. It's an inside out journey. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we will see you as a full community at our membership. We're so excited that you're going to be our masterclass speaker on February 8th. And if you would like to come along to that, the description is below this video to join in. But before we go, Lolis, I would love for you to share where people can find you, because I know that something we were going to mention is that you're really growing. Your Spanish account is just like blowing up. So where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, so they can find me as at Ama tu propósito, which is in Spanish, so it's AMAPROPOSITO, propósito. Ama tu propósito. If people speak Spanish, I would love to help them on their branding, finding themselves, and just sharing their magic with the world.
Absolutely.
And one last phrase that I really enjoy from Jay Shetty that I want to share with your community is that they are exactly in the place where they need to be. Like, there is no ahead, there is no behind. You are exactly where you need to be.
Oh, Beautiful, beautiful final words. Thank you so much, Lolis. And everything that y'all need, if you want to connect with Lolis, we'll put in the description as well. And thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you, Becca. It
Thanks,
was a
Lolis.
pleasure. Thank you.